It's the end of the year. It's the end of December, the end of the 12th month and the 12th step. I want to just tell everyone how happy I am that you're all here tonight on such a cold evening. We have been blessed this Christmas with good weather so we can visit friends and family. William, you might have missed it. The meetings are on tomorrow, okay? So we're meeting with friends and family and doing our Christmas thing. My wife and I had the pleasure of attending the live nativity scene that the Mormon Church puts on out at Heritage Park every Christmas. We've been to it a few years in the past, but this year it just seemed to be more meaningful. And it was an awesome performance, an awesome display that really brought home the Christmas story, the story of Jesus' birth. And they do it so well in about 20 minutes. There's llamas and there's sheep and there's shepherds and there's donkeys and all kinds of things there that really bring that story to life, and it really reminds us the reason for the season. And it's something that I strongly recommend to any of you next year when it comes around. It's just a really good event to go to. It's free, it's good entertainment, and it really brings the message home. So we're continuing with step 12 as we wind the year down. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry the message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We talked a couple of weeks ago about that step and about how many parts there were to it. And I think tonight we're going to concentrate on having had a spiritual awakening. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I also want to remind you that the principles here in this step are service and I think righteousness are two of the principles here. I also want to talk a little bit later on in the message about some planning. I don't want to call it goal setting because we're not really doing that, but some future planning, some future ideas and thoughts that we have for this service and for some events coming up. So the question that we want to talk about is how do we know when we've had a spiritual awakening? It's something that isn't that clear to many of us as we go through. If you read in the big book and you read Bill W.'s experience, he was laying in a hospital bed sick and had a huge flash of light that came to him, and all of the stuff, all the recovery stuff came to light for him, and he called that his spiritual awakening. But for many of us, as we went through our recovery process starting years ago and working through the steps and working through it, we didn't have any big flash of light. And it always comes to mind, when did we have our spiritual awakening? I think it's little things along the way. At first glance, it seemed to be coincidences. But looking on them and looking a little deeper, they may have been a bit of a divine intervention or our higher powers intervention in what we were doing. There's been way too many of these things happen in my life to feel that it's a coincidence. Seems to me it's God acting in my life and taking me in a direction that He wants me to travel in. Ever since I truly incorporated the step 11 prayer into my prayers, that is, praying only for the knowledge of your will for me and the power to carry that out, things have started to change. And I've talked about that often as we're going through the steps. I had given that lip service for many, many years. I listened to Wayne Lurie sit up here and say that after every prayer, likely 4 or 5 times a night. And finally the light bulb came on, and I thought, maybe I should do that. And once I started doing it, things started to change. My direction into the prison ministry, into the Young Offenders Center, into the Remand Center, doing this kind of work, more involved in this church, more involved in this service, and then off into the drug court world, along with many other spiritual activities that I'm drawing to. Is that all my will? I don't think so. It feels right. It feels good. So I believe that it's His will that is guiding and directing the things that happen in my life. When my will was in charge, I was heading in a different direction, and I was doing different things that didn't feel so good, and it was my selfish self-centeredness that was in control, my ego that was in control. When this started to happen, He took over and things started happening well. While doing some research and perusing some thoughts on a spiritual awakening, I found an article that talks about different signs that you can tell that you're having a spiritual awakening from. Some are very pertinent to our recovery and to those of us in the recovery world, but I think many of them are pertinent to everyone, whether you're in recovery or not. The first one they talk about is the feeling that something has changed inside of you. And I hear this so often from the guys I work with. You can't explain it, but you feel different. You feel like you've become a new person, which has nothing to do with the one you were before. You may even feel that you're getting closer to your truth. This fills you with deep happiness, and you get closer and closer to whom you want to be, or maybe on whom you really are. But now you've escaped the illusion, and you have dropped the mask and the blinders that go on forever. You feel you can see everything much clearer. The world has now a new color and a new taste simply because you're looking at it with new eyes. And I don't know how often I've heard that from so many guys in recovery, and as they're moving through their program and working their steps, they feel like they're a different person. They feel like things have really, really changed inside them. Awareness of the old negative habits. You become aware of everything that was not right in your old life, in the old you. You realize the things you used to do, you don't want to do anymore, and all the thinking patterns you don't wish to keep. You're already in for a big change. You never want to go back. You were so happy about what you've discovered. You feel a feeling of deep fulfillment and happiness from getting closer to your own feelings and your feelings of hope. To not feel good with your old friends, it said in their entourage, but I didn't like that word, but you don't feel so good with your old friends, and sometimes it's with your family members as well who are not on the same page as you. Evolving spirituality can be a painful process, as not everyone around you will evolve at the same speed. Very often we have to remove ourselves from our old friends, sometimes even family, so we can continue on our spiritual journey and our recovery journey. We start little by little to change our thinking about our life. We will even feel guilty for not spending as much time or any time with those old friends. We certainly wish we could, but the gap we feel between them and us has become too big. Therefore, we prefer either solitude rather than being drained by negative people. We look for new people, more in alignment with who we really are and our new energy. Naturally, we are attracted to those new people who make us feel good, and they energize us. We connect with them directly. We often feel better with them than we do with our own families and friends. That is, and those people we have known for years. That's because this time of connection is from soul to soul. You see each other and you are on the same path. It's heart and soul connection, which is less likely to be ruled by ego. Remembering what ego is, that's edging God out, right? Do not stand superficially. Lots of places or people that you used to go and see before will not interest you anymore. You've become allergic to anything superficial or not real, things that aren't authentic, people, places, activities. You're on a quest for authenticity or reality, really. Simplicity, real things that would make you feel real. You may think you have become antisocial or too difficult. Always remember this, always follow your heart. If your mind and your ego can dupe you and make you sink, your heart can never lie to you. The more you will grow spiritually, the more you will be attracted to real things and real people, and less you will be attracted to lie, to illusions, to hypocrisy, and to sham. This one sounds to me like it's telling us to get out of our head and into our heart, which is something we preach all the time. So rather than thinking our way through everything, we need to start feeling it, and we usually do the next right thing. Deep sadness, compassion about the suffering in the world. A spiritual awakening is not always the best feeling in the world. It can often be accompanied by strong feelings of despair and sadness when becoming more and more aware of the suffering around the world, even depression for some people. Once we know we can't go back and we suddenly feel responsible, what you feel is completely normal. You have to go through it. Don't think you have a problem or that you're too weak. Once we suddenly see and understand things, it can sometimes be a bit of a shock. We are more in tune with what is going on around us and in the world as a whole. We have to get out of our selfish self-centeredness to really see this. Feeling the need to make your community a better place. Taking care of your own well-being is not enough for you. You want to also help others and have a positive impact on your community and possibly the world. You don't understand the people that do nothing and that are selfish. You feel more and more compassion and empathy for others. Your life only has meaning when you do something for others. Even if you have impacted only one person, it makes you incredibly happy. It makes you feel as if you didn't come to this place in your recovery, or to this earth for nothing. So I hear that so often when I hear guys go out and say, I went to Alpha House and spoke the other night. I went to Renfrew and spoke. I chaired a meeting. It's getting out of our selfish self-centeredness. It's giving back to our program. It's giving back to our community, and it makes us feel good. It's something that we need to do. Step 7, a deep yearning for meaning in your life. A lot of things that you used to do before are of no interest to you anymore. Old places, old friends that you used to go to see have not the same taste. You need meaning in your life now, otherwise you get bored, and that affects you psychologically. You simply cannot find any interest anymore in doing anything that is not real and that doesn't match your current values. You need to have a purpose, you need to have a goal, and in a lot of cases you need to have some meaningful employment. You're more in tune with your senses and your feelings. In addition to your 5 physical senses, that's sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell, that become more and more developed, your spiritual senses also increase. Intuition, emotions, imagination, conscious, and inspiration are at a higher level. Your intuitions guide you more and more, and you learn to listen to them. You begin to understand that your emotions are the compass your soul uses to guide you and to indicate to you the direction to take. Negative emotions is kind of the wrong direction, the wrong way of thinking. Positive emotions take you in a good direction, and it's a good way to think. Willingness to know who you truly are and to finally be yourself. You don't want to be defined by society or others anymore. You're tired of wearing the mask you've been wearing for too long. In order to be what others expect from you, you finally want to know who you really are. You ask yourself questions about yourself, about life's purpose for you. You want to finally be who you really are. You want to be happy and never again live for others' expectations of you, always trusting your own intuitions. Increase of coincidence. The more you grow spiritually, the more your energy increases, and the more you will understand how perfectly everything is orchestrated. You meet by chance the right people. You find yourself by coincidence in the right place. At the right time, you desire something and this thing happens. So what's happening here? You are experiencing God's will in your life. Things are happening as they should be and as He directs. They aren't coincidences. More awareness and attention to the food you eat. And I guess that's true. For some of us, it is. I guess we try to live healthier lives. We try to eat more healthy. We try to watch the quantity and the quality of the food that we're eating. Many go back to the gym and start getting their bodies in healthy thing, and it's something that's good. When we do that, it's part of our spiritual awakening. Loss of interest in worrying. We learn to process our emotions and conquer our fears. You now understand your emotions. A negative emotion is the indicator of negative thoughts. You have understood that living in fear, in worry, is the worst thing to do, as we create our reality based on our thoughts, and we attract that which we give attention to. You now want to make your decisions based on love, based on trust, and to be in gratitude and joy. We talk about that a lot around here. Loss of interest in forms of conflict. Your inner peace has become sacred. All types of conflicts make you feel terribly uncomfortable as you now feel every energy change in your body. Your friend's drama or the TV drama doesn't interest you as much anymore. You want inner peace and deep serenity. You may even have for this purpose, lost any interest in being right at all costs in order to avoid conflict. I don't know totally on that one, but it's coming. It's coming. So, loss of interest towards any type of judgment towards others or yourself. As you feel more and more that we are connected and more than our physical appearance, you have lost interest in judging others and also want to apply it to yourself. You want to be lighter with yourself and others, as well as being more at peace, more love, more compassion for others in your life. Increased willingness to love and give without expectations. Your heart and your soul only feel fulfilled when you're of service to others and your community. You don't look for gratification for what you do or getting anything back. You just want to give and love for free. Feeling of being connected to everything and everyone. The connection gets stronger and stronger. You feel you are one with all living beings in nature. You understand the impact of each and every one of your words, your thoughts, and your actions on the rest of your community. And you feel deeply responsible for it. You know what to use your impact to in the most positive way, having understanding that you are part of the oneness. And the last one is feeling happiness. All of this makes you feel a deep feeling of happiness. You feel a burn in your chest of love towards life, of gratitude, of joy, of enthusiasm for no reason. You feel like you couldn't be happier than you are now, knowing what you know now. So many of these things are happening in each of our lives. Maybe not all of them, and maybe just parts of some of them, but they're happening, and they're the ways that we can tell that we're having a spiritual awakening. We have other ways of feeling spiritual awakenings, and I talk about our men's retreat a lot. I'm going to talk about it in a minute here. And we feel at that men's retreat that God shows up. You can feel his presence. You can feel the Spirit around the campfire. We feel it here most evenings and on many nights when we do different services here. We can feel that. That's all part of our spiritual awakening. When we go to that AA meeting and we speak for the first time and somebody comes up to us afterwards and said, you know, what you said really, really helped me. You might have saved my life. That's part of our spiritual awakening. We have to be aware of them. We have to realize that these things are happening to us and within us each and every day.